I'm Gary C. Johnson. I developed a method of representing my clients called judo law. Using judo law, our team set the record for the largest personal injury verdict in the state of Kentucky. No other law firm has even come close. We've had several multi-million-dollar verdicts since then, and guess what? Now, most of our cases settle. If you've been hurt and you need money fast, give us a call, pound hurt.
If you're hurt, injured, don't waste time. Gary Johnson cries for every dime.
Welcome to Simply the Law, a program created by attorney Gary C. Johnson. Simply the Law provides free legal advice and encourages happiness and quality of life. Now, here's Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson.
Hello, everyone. Welcome in to Simply the Law. My, how a week goes by so fast. I'm Keith Casebolt. Good to be back with my friend Gary C. Johnson.
Wonderful to be here. How you doing, guys and gals? Huh? No quarreling, no criticizing, condemning, and complaining. Each and every one of you for this entire week has been impeccable with the Word. You've all lived up to the 24-hour rule, kept your mouth shut if there's any emotion involved for 24 hours, right? You've not criticized anybody. You've done your best and not worried about the best someone else could do. None of you's assumed anything. No imagined slides in the room, right? There's definitely an imagined slide in the room right now, guys. And it's imagined. So forget. And none of you've taken anything personal, right?
You
Not
know,
personal.
I got to give you credit on something. You came in the other day to do the radio, and I was like, oh, Gary, I'm so glad you're here. I mean, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about this, and I'm worried about that. And you said, Keith, how many of those things can you change? And I said, well, none. And you said, okay, stop worrying and get back to being happy and productive and enjoying the people around you and stop the worry. And it was a great lesson, again, that you had to give me.
How many times do I have to say it? If you can't change it, don't worry about it. Don't have anxiety about it, and don't have any fear about it, because it's wasted. It's just a waste. But the things you can change, your attitude.
Yeah.
Right? That's it. How you look at things, that's the only thing basically you can change. You can change your clothes and things like that, but I'm talking about in the real world. And boy, when you change that attitude, you can be so happy. You can be like the grasshopper flitting the summer away, singing. That's okay. If you can't change it, the grasshopper couldn't change the fact that he's born the way he was. So why not?
You pointed out another thing this past week when you said people have different understandings and opinions, and instead of getting into an argument, instead of trying to put your opinions on others, when somebody comes to you with a different opinion, sit back and say, that's interesting. How did you come to that conclusion? And you might end up learning something. I have done that, and you are absolutely right. It's remarkable when you look at the other side of someone else's opinion.
Well, I strongly urge you, my friends, to watch MSNBC, Fox News, and CNN, and try to figure out what's going on.
Now, the reason he tells you this is because he gave me this test a couple of weeks ago, and I started doing it, and you get 3 different stories. And I told Gary I would be like on one channel, I'd be like, well, that makes sense to me. And I'd tune over to the next one, I'd go, oh, well, that's a great point. That makes sense to me. And then I'd go to the third one, and I'd go, well, I hadn't thought about that, but that makes sense. And then the other point you made is after you do all that, you've got to come up with your own conclusion and make up your own mind.
How many of you feel real strong about a position one way or the other about maybe what's going on in the country today? Hold your hand up. Raise your hand. Okay? what if you're wrong?
There's always that possibility.
As you get older, and I'm going to tell this story again because it's important. I was born and raised very, very conservative, dirt poor, America, believe everything your politicians say. I was raised that way. Pretty ignorant, really, up in the head of a holler. I'll be honest with you. So I go off to college, and it's during the time of the Vietnam War. And there were students there, heaven forbid, that were protesting the war that our wonderful leaders thought we needed to be in. I couldn't believe it. I was outraged.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how stupid I was? Because I was dead wrong. We should never have been in that war. Those protesting people were 100% right. They were protesting the Vietnam War. And yet here I was judging them and outraged at what they were doing. I learned a valuable lesson from that. And I'm going to share that with you whether you like it or not. I now realize that how wrong I was. Someday when you look back on how strongly you feel right now, you may very well say the same thing. So don't get so entrenched that there's no flexibility in your outlook.
Gary, is the difference, and would the difference have even been then when you were in college if you had got all the different information and got all of the facts and you could have put everything together and sit down and looked at it and then made up your mind without being influenced by your upbringing that you would have come to that conclusion even at that time?
I don't know, I was pretty dumb. I was an 18-year-old fool is what I was. There's no other way to say it. I didn't understand. I believed the people in power. I blindly followed the people in power when I was 18 years old. And I was ready to fight for those people in power for a cause that was just a horrible cause that killed many, many Americans for nothing. And I guess what I'm saying to you folks, get as much information as you can. Get it from whatever sources you can get it. And don't discard something just because it disagrees with what you're saying. And try to put it all together and form an intellectual decision and opinion rather than the one like I formed when I was 18 years old, which was in blind trust.
You
okay,
know,
that's all I'm saying.
And let me just add to that if all of us will search our souls and go back through our lives and our past, as you're sitting there talking, I'm sitting here going, I have made wrong statements about religion. I have made wrong statements about politics. I've made wrong statements about business. At the time, I thought those things and I believed them. But as I got older and I listened to more people talk and heard their opinions and understood different facts, now I look back on it and I cringe that I would criticize and say some of the things that I did at the time.
I'll bet you every single one of you has been there that's watching this program. Not a doubt in my mind. So you're still the same person that made those same mistakes. So now all I'm asking you folks is, how many times have I said it on this show and on my radio program? All I want you to do is think.
Gary, I got to tell you this. I'll give you a great example. 30 years ago, a dear friend of mine bought a piece of property that he wanted to build a house on in a nice community. The property was like $30,000. I looked at him in my infinite wisdom and said, $30,000 for that small lot? You got to be crazy. A fool would pay that. Yeah, those lots today are going for $150,000 a piece. Mm-hmm. Thank heavens my dear friend didn't listen to me and he purchased the property. But I look back on that, and that example is no different than the other issues that we've taken up, right?
Unsolicited advice.
Unsolicited advice, and boy, I gave it. And he has never punished me by coming back and saying, don't you wish you'd have bought a couple of those lots when you told me I was a big dummy?
Yeah. But that's life. Let's take a break. We'll come back. Got some more stuff I want to talk to my friends about.
You know, the main thing I love about this program is Gary asks us to think. He never tells us what we should do and how we should be. He gives us information, and then he asks us to go think about it and come up with our own decisions. And it really makes learning fun. Stay with us. We'll be back with Simply the Law right after this.
People are asking, what is judo law? Judo is a martial art that uses the opponent's strength to defeat them by not opposing it directly. Gary C. Johnson created a method of practicing law based upon that principle. It worked so well, he named it judo law. To see the results, go to GaryCJohnson.com. To have Gary and his team of judo lawyers go to work for you, dial pound HURT. This is an advertisement.
Welcome back into Simply the Law. Gary, the other thing I want to compliment you on is you continue to grow every day. You read every day. You look for information every day. Your great quote, to change is to grow, to change often is to have grown much. You bought into that, and you do that every day of your life.
There's one reason that I do that. I'm still shell-shocked from being the fool I was when I was 18 years old. I still have post-traumatic stress from being that big of a fool, okay? And I'm trying not to be that big of a fool again. I hope that when I die, I will not have made the stupid mistakes that I made by not getting all of the information when I was 18. That's just that simple. You can get PTSD from being a pure fool, folks.
Listen,
Trust me.
when you look back on the mistakes that you've made, you cringe and say, how could I have done that? How could I have been so foolish to have made that mistake?
It's in life interesting, though. None of you have done that, right?
It's just you and me, friend.
Oh, it's just Keith and I.
Yeah, just us.
Let's go, computer. I got some stuff I want to talk to my friends about. There's our number in case any of you need to reach us. Lexington office, GaryCJohnson.com. In general, on every program that you'll ever watch of mine, it's going to say, make sure you have underinsurance on your insurance policy that protects you and your family. It's UNDER, not UN. You've already got UN on your policy. The law requires it, but under. Motorcycles. It's that time of year, sun's shining. You see more motorcycles on the road. There's something you need to know about motorcycles if you don't know it. I'm going to share it with you. Insurance agents will not put personal injury protection, no fault, PIP, on your motorcycle insurance unless you demand it. The law requires they put it on your car. The law does not require that they put it on motorcycles. Therefore, if you have a motorcycle, you need to look at your insurance policy and see if you have the $10,000 no fault. If you don't, go to your agent and say, I want to add this to my motorcycle policy. And if ever you needed underinsurance, it's on your motorcycle policy.
I was going to ask you the question on that. You said the law does not require it. If ever there should be a law to require it, it should be on the motorcycles. The smallest accident on a motorcycle is going to cause a lot of damage.
Well, the reason I'm pointing this out and making a big deal out of it is we see it in our office all the time, where someone's been in a wreck, motorcycle, tore all to pieces because that's just the way it is. You hear a wreck in a motorcycle, you're going to be tore all to pieces. They don't even have the $10,000 no fault to help with our medical bills. Most of the time, maybe once or twice I've seen underinsurance on a motorcycle policy because people don't think about the motorcycle policy like they do the car policy. So if you've got a motorcycle, make sure that its policy is identical to the one on your car. Make sure it has its personal injury protection, PIP. I guarantee you it will not be on your policy unless you demanded they put it there. It's not a good deal for people to sell PIP to somebody that's riding a motorcycle.
Gary,
Insurance company.
let's speak about the motorcycle riding too, because I talked to an individual the other day and he said, look, I'm a safe rider. I take precautions. I said, it's not you. Have you not heard Gary talk about that people in cars and trucks don't see you? And he didn't understand what I was trying to tell him, but I'd like for you to explain that when we pull up to an intersection, our brain, we look left, we look right, we look for a car, we look for a truck, but we're not looking for a motorcycle.
There's an entire body of science that says that as much of our vision that we use comes from our memory as it does from what we're actually seeing and taking in from our eyes. Therefore, we see to a great extent what we expect to see. That's why magicians can do what they do. You're expecting to see something, but that's not what it is. The brain is tricked. You pull up to an intersection and you say, I'm going to look to see if a car is coming. You look, there's no car coming. You pull out, but there was either a motorcycle or a bicycle that you didn't see. Therefore, you've got to take, if you're driving, you've got to say, I'm going to look to see if anything is coming, and tell your brain that. Then you will recognize a motorcycle, a bicycle, a go-kart, or anything is coming. You'll then see it. We drive preoccupied. We drive to a great extent on remote control. How many times have you driven home and not had a vaguest idea that where you went or any memory of what you did when you were driving home? You just did it on remote control. That was your brain doing it for you. But it was only dealing with things that it had seen before.
And
if
this,
anything you had come along and you was on remote control, bam, you'd be in a wreck.
And this is why the stat says most of the accidents happen within a 10 or 20 mile area of your home or your workplace, because we are driving on remote control. I never understood this until Gary pointed it out, and I was going on a trip through Jacksonville, Florida, and I'm up on the wheel. I've got both hands on the wheel. I'm telling the kids to be quiet. I'm concentrating. I was in an unfamiliar area, and because of that,
You were vigilant.
I was vigilant in the way that I was driving. Now, the reverse of that is I leave the house to come to the office, and it's a everyday deal, and you're comfortable and you're relaxed, and that's why you're not seeing the motorcycle.
And that's why people get seriously injured. And they end up in our office because someone has harmed them. Because we aren't vigilant in our driving. And we're seeing these people, and they say, I didn't see them. That's probably true. But were they looking carefully? Were they thinking about what they were doing, or were they driving on remote? That's the question. You know, they're not bad people that pull out in front of people. There are people that are driving on remote control, just like you guys are doing to a certain extent, and we all do. And you don't see the unexpected. And when the unexpected happens, it's too late to do anything about it. Let's take a break and we'll come right back.
Stay with us. This is Simply the Law with the creator of the program, Gary C. Johnson. We'll be back right after this. Eastern Kentucky, southern West Virginia, and southwest Virginia. It can be a tough territory to reach when it comes to marketing. We can help. We can also help you find your identification. And we have plenty of services to do it and a lot of experience behind us, over 37 years. In fact, we've either booked or sold nearly $70 million in advertising in this region. You need a new voice, a new idea, a new concept? Casebold Marketing. We're ready to go to work for you today. Our motto is nothing happens until you make it happen. So let's get started today. Welcome back into Simply the Law, a great program on the motorcycles. One thing you and I were talking about at the break, a good friend of mine mentioned about coming up to the red light, and he said, all my life when it turned green, I hit the gas. And he said, the other day, I didn't do it because I was thinking about Gary's instructions, and here comes a truck through the red light. He said, had I reacted and just gone on green, I would have got hit. But we have to look. It doesn't mean you're safe.
It is so important if you're sitting at a red light that you don't hit the gas as soon as your light goes green. You have a legal right to do so. Don't do it. Make sure that one and that one and that one is stopping before you pull out. Amazing the times you'll save yourself from all kinds of grief and maybe being severely injured if you do that. Most young people don't do it, but us older folks, we've learned, right? Let's go to the computer. I've got some stuff I want to share with you folks. Haven't done this one in a long time, so I'm going to do it. Life's Little Instruction Book by H. Jackson Brown Jr. I'm going to go through these with you so you folks can have a little something uplifting, okay? Thoughts. 1, live beneath your means. Ooh, that's hard to do. Look people in the eye. Sometimes that's hard to do.
Very important, though.
Say thank you a lot, especially to the people that are waiting on you, serving you, cashiers, anyone that does anything that benefits you, say thank you.
Especially right now in this day and time,
Absolutely.
we need to say thank you.
Say please even more. Forgive others of anything you can forgive yourself for, which means you can forgive others of just about anything.
Oh,
right?
the first time you gave me that quote, you said, "Forgive others for anything you can forgive yourself." I said, "No, Gary, I'm pretty hard on myself." And you said, "No, you'll find a way to forgive yourself." And I got tickled because no matter what I would come to Gary with, and I'm like, "I'm never going to get over this. What a bad mistake. I'll never forgive myself." And Gary's always said, "Oh, you'll find a way. You'll forgive yourself."
It's the truth. Let's go back to the computer. I got some more thoughts. Return all things you borrow. Uh-oh.
That hit home.
Keep secrets. And it doesn't mean that a secret is something you tell one person at a time. Okay? That's not what that says. Never give up on anybody. Miracles happen every day, and that is so true. Never give up. Instead of tricks of the trade, learn the trade.
Really good.
Yeah. Never, never, never lose your temper. It's too expensive.
That could be the most important one you got up there right now.
Costs too much money.
I have told everybody this. This makes 20 years that I've done the radio program and the television program with Gary. I've been around you extensively. I have never, ever seen you lose your temper. I have never heard you raise your voice, ever.
You never will.
And when I tell people that, they always say, "Well, now surely one day he got mad or he got this or something happened that," no, never.
A temper. And the reason I'm stopping to talk about this is because it just popped in my head that I need to. Because one of you folks that's watching this program has recently lost your temper. Not a doubt in my mind about it. So, did it do you any good? Did it enhance you and make you richer? Did it make you have more and better friends? Huh? Did it do anything other than you showing the wrong end?
It did not make you look intelligent, is what you're trying to say.
Did it cost you? And that's the question. Because I learned early on when I was a very small child that a temper costs money. And I didn't have any money. So I had to get rid of my temper, right? If you're very, very wealthy and you'll never need any more money than what you have or friends, then you can afford to lose your temper. Otherwise, it's too expensive. And it's a luxury that you're indulging in. Oh, yes, I'm going to lose my temper. I can't control my temper. Oh, yes, you can control your temper. That is a barefaced lie. You can't control your temper. Okay? If you want to control your temper, you can control your temper. No question about it.
Because there's people in your life, whether it be your boss or whoever, that you will control your temper with, right?
You will always control your temper if there's a repercussion from the person you're using it against. It's the people you fly off the handle against are the people that can't do anything about it.
Family, friends,
People are closest to you.
co-workers under you
Yeah.
or something like
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
I don't think we'll take any more breaks, because I want to get through my thoughts.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go back to computer. I love these thoughts. Never blame others, accept responsibility for every area of your life.
Ooh, that's big.
Period. Admit your mistakes quickly if you can make yourself do it. Okay?
You know, it wasn't completely our fault.
Be brave, even if you're not, pretend to be. No one can tell the difference. Hug a lot after we get through the virus.
Absolutely.
Okay? Don't acknowledge the existence of the Joneses. Let's talk about that for a minute. That goes right back to one of the 4 agreements that says only worry about doing the best you can do, not what someone else is doing. And when you acknowledge the existence of the Joneses and start trying to live up to what the Joneses do, you're violating one of the 4 agreements. Do the best you can do. It's plenty good enough.
Isn't that so comforting to be able to say, hey, I did the best I could do? I mean, if it was good enough, it was good enough. If it wasn't good enough, it was still the best I could do.
Your best is always good enough. Period. Because it's your best, right?
And Gary, all of these little thoughts and the information that you've been giving us in this program, it's all for one thing, for you to have a happier, better, more productive life.
Let's go. I've got just a couple more thoughts I want to share with you folks before the end of the program. Back to the computer. Very carefully, 90% of your happiness and misery will come from this decision.
Amen. On the happiness side.
Never cheat. Smile a lot. It's free. Resist buying a boat. Those of you that have a big boat probably know what I'm talking about.
Happiest 2 days of your life.
Listen carefully. Opportunity sometimes knocks very softly. Keep your watch 5 minutes fast. Never deprive someone of hope. It may be all they have. If you touch someone's life, leave them better because of it.
And that one is the best one and the one to end it on. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for tuning into this program, and hopefully that last one is what Gary and I are trying to do, is touch your life and leave you better for it, and hopefully you'll do the same. On behalf of Gary C. Johnson, I'm Keith Casebolt. As always, Gary and I look forward to seeing you again next week, right here at this same time.
Thank you for watching Simply the Law, a program created by Gary C. Johnson. Until next week, may you be safe, blessed, and happy.